In the heart of a crumbling town called Eldermire, shrouded in mist and memories, stood a building long forgotten by time, a massive stone structure overgrown with ivy and shadow. The townsfolk whispered about it in hushed voices. To some it was just an abandoned ruin. To others it was cursed. But no one dared venture inside, no one, except for Elara. Elara was 17, and unlike the rest of Eldermire, while others resigned themselves to the slow decay of the town, Elara yearned for more. She devoured books like air, dreaming of places far beyond the dying streets of her home. Her father used to be the town librarian before the Great Fire consumed the public library 10 years ago. That was also the night her mother disappeared. One rainy afternoon, while exploring the outskirts of Eldermire's abandoned district, Elara stumbled upon the entrance to the forgotten building. She didn't know why, but her feet pulled her forward, curiosity and instinct louder than caution. The heavy oak doors creaked open, revealing a grand hall dusted with centuries of silence. It was a library. Not just any library. This was something ancient and vast. The ceiling stretched high into darkness, with chandeliers hanging frozen in time. Rows upon rows of books stood untouched, their leather bindings glowing faintly under shafts of dusty sunlight. As she stepped inside, the doors shut behind her with a whisper. At first she explored like a child let loose in a candy shop, running her fingers over book spines, opening ancient tomes with maps of lands she had never heard of, and reading words that didn't feel like they belonged to this world. One book called Chronicles of the Third Veil contained her mother's handwriting in the margins. Her breath caught. It couldn't be. Her mother had been gone for a decade. In the days that followed, Elara returned again and again. No matter how many times she left, the library seemed to change. Corridors shifted, new sections appeared, and books she hadn't noticed before beckoned her. Then the dreams began. She would see a woman cloaked in silver, walking through the library with purpose. Her face was hidden, but her voice whispered to Elara from across the void. "The veil is thinning. Beware the bound one." Haunted but determined, Elara pressed deeper into the library's mysteries. She discovered that the building wasn't built by Eldermire's ancestors, but by an ancient order of knowledge keepers known as the Scribes of Silence. They protected books that didn't just tell stories, they held power. One night, a hidden stairwell opened behind a shifting shelf. At the bottom, Elara found a sealed room lit by a floating lantern. In the center was a book chained to a stone pedestal, the Codex of Binding. The air grew cold. A voice, low and ancient, echoed through the room. From the shadows emerged a man cloaked in ink-black robes, tall and gaunt, as if carved from the void itself. His face was gaunt, skeletal, veiled by long strands of white hair that swayed with an unseen wind. His eyes, however, were alive, glowing with an eerie pale green light that pulsed in time with Elara's racing heartbeat. His voice slithered through the chamber like cold smoke. "The bound one lives again," he hissed, his words echoing off the stone walls. The air thickened, dust began to swirl and the lanterns dimmed. The chained book, the Codex of Binding, hummed as if reacting to his presence. Elara stumbled back, heart pounding, her thoughts reeling. This was no ordinary intruder. He was a warden of the Rift, one of the last living disciples who once served the Bound One, and he had returned to finish what had begun centuries ago. As he stepped closer to the pedestal, the floor beneath them trembled. Faint, guttural whispers rose from the cracks, ancient and angry. The man raised a bony hand toward the Codex. "With your blood the seal shall break, and with its freedom I shall reign once more." But Elara's hands were already on the book. She felt its pulse, alive, intelligent, ancient. With a jolt of terrifying clarity she realized the truth. This library wasn't just a sanctuary of knowledge, it was a prison, built to contain a being so dangerous, so powerful, that it had been erased from history itself. The bound one had been trapped beneath the library for centuries. The scribes of silence had sacrificed everything to keep it locked away, including her mother. Visions flooded her mind. A younger version of her mother standing exactly where Alara stood now, reciting the final verses of the binding spell, tears in her eyes as she gave up her freedom, and perhaps her life, to keep the creature sealed. She saw robed figures forming a circle, glyphs burning into the stone floor, a roar that cracked the heavens, and then silence. Tears welled in Alara's eyes. This was more than fate, it was legacy, and now she was caught between two impossible choices. Unlock the Codex, unleash the creature, and gain the knowledge and power that could change the world, or seal it forever, destroying the Codex and losing her only remaining link to her mother, and perhaps herself. The warden reached out again, this time chanting in a tongue older than the stars. The floor split open behind him, revealing a chasm of swirling void. The bound one was waking. "Choose, child of the sealed," the warden sneered. "Stand aside or be consumed." Alara's hands tightened on the codex. She didn't move. Instead, she opened the voices whispered around her. Every keeper, every scribe, every soul who had ever sacrificed for the cause. Her mother's voice rang clearest. "You are the ink. You are the page. Write not for the past, but for what must be." Alara didn't destroy the codex. She rewrote it. With trembling fingers and steady resolve, she altered the ancient spell. Not just to bind the bound one, but to fuse herself with the library itself. She would become its new keeper, not trapped, but transcendent, a living sentinel of stories, guarding the prison from within, and ensuring that the knowledge would never again be buried or misused. With a final breath, she whispered, "I am the story now." The vault roared as the chasm sealed shut. The shadows evaporated. The warden's scream was cut off, like a candle's flame in a storm. The codex closed gently, its chains now forged anew, not from iron, but from will. Silence returned. And then light. One by one, lanterns flickered to life. The dust lifted. Shelves straightened. The walls shimmered with golden lines of text in unknown languages. The entire library pulsed with warm energy, awake for the first time in centuries. Above, in the town of Eldermire, something miraculous happened. The heavy vines that once choked the stone walls of the ancient building began to fall away. The tower that had stood in crumbling ruin shone with new life. Golden light poured from its high windows, casting a soft glow into the foggy streets. People noticed. They gathered slowly, cautiously, unsure of what had changed. But curiosity, once sparked, is a powerful thing. A little girl stepped forward and pushed open the library door. She wasn't met by silence, but by a soft rustle of pages, a gentle hum of magic, and a warmth that wrapped around her like a memory. Books lined the walls again. A table waited with a candle and an open volume. The library was back. One by one, the townsfolk of Eldermire entered. Some wept, some laughed, all were drawn to its presence. The forgotten library had become a beacon of hope, a temple of knowledge, born again. And Alara, she was always there, not seen, not quite, but always felt, in the flutter of a page, the sudden glow of a lantern, the whisper of a voice guiding a child's hand toward the right book. She had become the soul of the library, the one who stood between worlds, the last of the scribes, and the guardian of the greatest story ever told. Subscribe my YouTube channel, the Animation Arcade and press the bell icon for more updates.